It's insane. We have like over 4 million followers overall. I've scaled so much. Now I have content creators. I'm hiring for like actors or content creators in the company.
Can we discuss that a little? How your infrastructure, as far as like on your online presence, has developed? I mean, I remember it was just you creating the content.
I know. That's why it's like things have like shifted so much, and I think I'm kind of like reinventing.
Hey everyone, I'm very proud to represent our sponsor for this podcast. We're actually located here in Santa Paula inside A Plus Branding. They're your one-stop shop for promotional supply products such as t-shirts, custom hats, custom apparels, you name it, they brand it. A Plus Branding provides all your promotional needs. They also provide vinyl decals such as stickers. They even did this wall here for me to make sure that this room is branded properly, to make sure that the guests that do come here feels that experience. It's also a really cool partnership because we work directly with brand owners, business owners. So when they come in here, they also have a one-stop solution for their needs. So make sure to go ahead and check out A Plus Branding. You can check them out at their website, aplusbranding.com, and you can go ahead and request a quote from them. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Voice the Podcast. I'm your host, Charles. So I'm very excited to have a special guest today, guys. So little context, if you have been tuning into the journey of Voice Podcast before it was Voice Podcast, I had someone very special a while back. And I'm actually pretty honored to have her back on in here to share her journey. Her journey is just so inspiring. Like, if you know and understand what she went through and how she went about it, and then we're gonna dive into a little bit of that just to kind of share that for our listeners. I mean, she's 22 years old, right? And she is just growing right now. She's her own business owner. She just got her own house recently out here. Other than that, I mean, let's do a little bit of a little background, Gleyna. Your episode was one of my top 10 episodes. Most listened. Yeah.
Wait, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's been one of my top episodes since then. I'm like, damn, how do I beat that?
That makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, because like it was just a privilege to see you grow, because I've been working with you and Adrian, right? Just seeing you grow throughout the years. I remember you went through many stages in the companies.
It's been a lot.
So we're going to dive into that, right? So welcome to the show, guys. Gleyna Oleynick, owner of Cornwood Slime. How are you today?
Yes, I am doing very well, actually. It's been a good day. I actually took a day off from work today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So she's doing self-care. All right.
Yeah,
Take notes, guys.
So like Charles said very kindly, I'm Gleyna Oleynick, and I'm the owner of Cornwood Slime that just turned 6 years old this year. It's my full-time business. It's the only business that I have right now. I'm 22 years old, and I met Charles in 2019.
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
The year before 2018. COVID. No, 2018, really?
Yeah, I was working at the gym, remember?
Yeah.
And you went with your sister, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then your sister said, oh, she has all these followers. And I'm like, really? Can I interview her?
I know.
And I was so stoked when you said yes, because like I did it from my house, remember?
Yeah.
So.
I remember. Yeah, I mean, my sister would talk about you often, how you're like a really good friend, and always just like she would always just talk really good things about you. So
that's awesome. I hope so.
Oh no, yeah. So I always knew about you.
I'll find her.
I always knew about you without like knowing you, and I always wanted to meet you. Because when she was I was like, oh, like Charles, like, I'm like, oh, he sounds like a really cool guy. So I remember we were at the gym, like, oh, we might see Charles. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I doubt it. Went in there, and she's like, oh my God, it's Charles. And I got really shy because I would hear these good things about you, right? I remember then she was like, oh yeah, she has her own business. I didn't want to say that because at the time I was still like 1 year in my business. I was still very like embarrassed about it.
Really?
I mean, I was 18 at the time, so I was embarrassed. I'll go into that today, but yeah, I had like a lot of like shame about it, so I wouldn't really like to tell people about it. So when she told me, I was like, oh, I don't like anyone knowing, and like the questions and everything. But I remember like you were one of the few people at the time that actually like responded very like in a supportive way. And like I remember when you told me like, let's do a podcast, like you were just really excited.
Yeah.
And then actually like it kind of like give me like a confidence boost. I was like, oh, like people do care about this, like outside of like the online community, because I really only have started my business online. It's all been online. So that was the first few first times someone in person where I'm from was like supportive about it and like
Wow.
excited about it. So yeah, I remember when you're like, let's do a podcast. I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm going to say, but like, I want to do it just because like your energy, I could feel it was genuine and like you actually did care and I could feel it. And I was like, okay, I felt like, I guess, safe. You know what I mean?
I get that a lot. So I make people feel safe.
Yeah.
Until they start, we start working closer together. I'll call them out. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
So yeah, and I remember the day of coming to the podcast, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Like, I've only been like, I think it was like 1-2 years in business. I was still learning a lot at the time. I hadn't experienced much, it was very, very new. But one thing, I watched the podcast, like I said, a month ago. One thing that I think is still the same for me, like 5 years ago, is the fact that like I've always been very like ambitious.
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
Which was crazy, you know what I mean? Kind of like looking back at that, and I mean, there's a lot of other things like the way I would talk about myself or my business and all of that is different now, but like the ambition is still there, and I was like, okay. The Gleyna's still in there, and it's always going to be in here. And it was just like, I don't know, it was just nice to look back at that.
Right. So if anybody does turn that in, you get to hear why and how she got started. So now we're going to dive into a little bit more of what's changed and some of the experience, because a lot of our listeners that I look to service are people that were just like you at the start. They didn't know, like, for example, that inspires me to know that just me having that conversation with you made you feel safe. Like, fuck yeah, that's score for me. Mostly because, like, there are a lot of people out there that don't know the resources and the support that they can have just because the world can be cruel sometimes. Or maybe we're just limited to the possible knowledge, right? So as of right now, I mean, like, I gotta ask, right? Would you say that, like, in the past, was that 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years
right?
ago.
Has your passion and drive remained the same for your brand? Like that's one of like a big question I always wonder, because like a lot of people, they die down there maybe because they realize that it's not something they want to do. But
Yes, but in a different way.
Okay.
It's very, very different now.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I actually do want to.
Yes.
I think there's still like the same intense passion and drive, but it's almost like towards like a different goal.
Gotcha.
Back then, like the goal was like even just hitting 100,000 in a year. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay.
Even just like getting an order worth $100. You know what I mean? I was like, there was just like smaller goals. I remember like a big goal I had. I actually just saw this. I was like, I want to buy my first house by 30.
And you got it before
22. And all this stuff.
Wow.
So it's like I've already like met all my goals. And it's now like, okay, why am I really doing this now? What do I really want out of this? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. During the like past 6 years, there has been times where it's like up and down. Sometimes I'm just like not that like inspired or driven. I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
I think it would be a lie for anyone to say in business that they're always just like very passionate about it and like inspired and like, you know what I mean? I think there's sometimes where you're just like, do I even want?
Also because like your energy can get drained by different things,
Yeah.
You're doing you as a business owner, you're not just creating this lines anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're managing people, you're figuring out how to complete the fulfillment orders, you're trying to figure out how to do the taxes, which
Yeah, no, it's been so different. Like back then, really my only biggest kind of task was just coming up with new products and making videos of them. Now it's like I need to hire a social media manager. I need to like talk to like a lawyer about this, like the legalities into this. What's, taxes, how much do we owe, like attorney fees for like, can we come out with this product?
Right. You guys have actually, that's interesting. So now you have to make sure that it's not like trademark or anything.
And I'll go into that too, but that's one
like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've made many mistakes in the past, you know what I mean? So now it's just like, I've learned from all of them. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to commit them again. But it's like, I'm glad I did those mistakes.
For sure.
And that's part of the process. But you know, when you do commit those mistakes, it's like your drive goes down. And it's like, that's what I mean when like the ambition goes down sometimes during those times when mistakes happen. It's like, oh, I didn't want to do this.
It just kind of punches you in the gut a little bit.
It does.
Okay. And then you're still kind of fighting back.
Yeah, it does. But that's the part I think is key as a business owner. You have to kind of like just get back up. You know what I mean? And be like, this freaking hurts. I feel sucky right now, but like this is temporary.
Right. My thoughts on that is like, as a business owner myself, going through many phases, I'm going up and down, right? Like progressively getting better as far as like how I operate, mostly knowing how I do best, right? One of the things I've come across during those times, what we mentioned, where you feel like you don't want to do it, or just things that it's, you know, something that you don't want to do as a business owner, and you get those feelings where you feel kind of down. I've come to realize that like all of that happens to be just part of the process. Yeah. Right. So like it's not a bad or good thing. It just, you building it as whatever you're going after, it's going to be something that's evident, you know. It's gonna be consistent, it's gonna consistently be there regardless of how you do it. And the way I see it best is like, what I want in life, I'm already there. Everything I'm doing just happens to be a part of that process.
Oh my God, yeah. I saw you posting on your story, I think the other day. You're like, I think it was something like, I'm already living the life that I want.
Yeah, I think I put a little post on one of the properties we were in recently. I said, POV, you're already living the lifestyle you want. You just haven't gotten there yet, right?
I remember like at some point, this is probably like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like somewhere, I was like in mountains of Malibu, right? And I was like, I want to live somewhere where like I have mountain views and just like I'm in nature. And I was like,
you are a nature girl, and also a very vintage kind of girl.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
You have that type of flavor or style.
Yeah, I do love that. And I remember being there and I was like, I'm already living this life. I'm like, just time hasn't caught up on some things, but I'm already living this life. And I think, and that's a big thing of like gratitude. I think being grateful for things. And I think that's a big part of, I think if you want to grow, you need to have like a deep sense of gratitude for everything in your life.
For sure. You know, and I think, you know, a lot of people think gratitude is being thankful and super good, but oftentimes I've come to realize that gratitude or appreciation is more than that. Sometimes it's also acknowledging that you're hurt, struggling, fucking up, owning up to your mistakes, to understand, to really fully appreciate like the process that you're going through or whatever it is you're going through. Because without those, like you were just given to it, it's very hard to acknowledge, you know, like how good of an opportunity you have, you know? Yeah. And I think that means you have to be like graceful with yourself during hard times. And I think that's what like having a deep sense of gratitude means. I go to therapy a lot. I go to therapy. I need to go too. I go to therapy like bi-weekly, and the thing me and my therapist are talking a lot is like having grace with yourself even through difficult times. For sure. And I think that's what's helped me a lot with like the most difficult parts of my life, just being graceful with myself, not being too hard on myself. And what do you mean by grateful? I mean, obviously you're going through things where you're comparing yourself or seeing things you could be better at as a business owner. And how do you, like when you shift towards gratitude, how does that exactly support you? I think I'm in graceful. Oh, graceful. Graceful, okay. Having like grace with yourself. So I think, I remember one time, my therapist, the first time she told me, she's like, you need to have more grace with yourself, to yourself. That's good. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how do I show grace to myself? She was like, just don't be hard on yourself. When you make a mistake or something goes wrong, just don't make up these fake stories no matter how things can get worse. Just be like, this happened and that's okay. Right. And I think that's so crucial for everything. And that's something I've been like just practicing more and more, having more grace with myself when I make mistakes or something, just so I don't go in the loophole of like, so then how do you like create grace within yourself? Like, what do you tell yourself? Because you have to tell yourself something that you see within yourself, right? In order to be graceful. I think reminding myself of my truth, kind of like, I'm not a bad person. You know what I mean? Or something like this. Because I think sometimes, like, I want to give an example of like something. That's interesting. I feel like this is turning into a therapy session. I know. Sorry, I tend to like dive into people's, deeper thoughts just to kind of see how they operate. Yeah. Okay. Well, this past year actually has really tested me a lot. A lot, I think, in business. 2023? Yeah, 2023 tested me a lot with business and employees, more specifically. Gotcha. A lot of employees, I had to let go of a lot of employees just for mistakes I commit
the first place of like not putting policies in place or like things in place. And once I did, folks are like, what the heck, Gleyna's being mean now or something, right? So I've had experiences, in the past, like I've had to let go of employees, and then employees get mad, right? And they do things. And I'm like, I feel like, I'm such a bad person.
Gotcha.
And I think reminding myself of my truth, like, I'm not a bad person. I'm just learning. I'm human. They're human. No one's in the wrong. You know what I mean? This is just like a learning experience.
Yeah.
And also and then adding gratitude to like, I'm grateful for the time they spent here and the amount of like work they put into also my business and everything.
For sure.
And I'm not gonna, one thing I'm big about is like, I don't like bashing on people or talking bad about people. Like that's something that it's not part of me.
And it's not supportive either, because oftentimes when you do tend to get that way, you're often just projecting to, you're trying to put out things that you don't like about other people and yourself. For me, at least, when I start to feel frustrated about other people, it's usually because I feel, or at least, I come to an awareness that it's because I'm frustrated about myself, about something that I wish I could do, but I couldn't.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, 100%.
Self-freaking awareness.
I'm super big on that.
I know, I love that. I wish everyone had that.
And it's curious to me too, I come across a lot of situations where I have to make decisions with people that I don't feel good about. And it's hard, right? And, going back into what you said, sometimes it makes you feel like a bad person.
Yeah.
Right? Would you say like you feeling like a bad person came from like maybe other associations or relationship with other people that made you like feel bad or punished you a certain way when you did something wrong?
Yeah, honestly, I think it goes way back to like childhood stuff.
Usually it does, huh?
It usually does, yeah. Like in therapy, most of like deep stuff. She's like, "Do you want to go deep, or do you just want to?" She's my therapist asking. She's like, "Do you want to go deep, or do you just want to be reminded of your truth?" It reminded me just kind of like staying like surface level, kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to give me affirmations, but then going deep is like, let's go into like the deep wounds and dig deep into them, and then clean them, and then put a Band-Aid on them and let them heal.
That's such an interesting process, because I've come across many coaches, or I've never interacted with a therapist. Maybe that's why I didn't need it as much.
I don't think everyone needs therapy. I'm like a big believer that everyone needs therapy.
I feel like a lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
I think mostly because they don't have the tools to create awareness within themselves. So what tends to happen is, they start projecting on other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that really hinders their aspect of what they can't control. Because there's a lot of things that we can't control in life. But the biggest thing that I feel a lot of people can't control, or they don't know how to control, is themselves. And then that leads to a bunch of things messing up their life. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do need therapy. But I think also a lot of people are just surrounded by the wrong people
That's
don't even know things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big, or someone enabling them, or rather, maybe conditioning them in a certain way, right? Like they're just as victims about their life as everything else, rather than taking ownership and responsibility for what they can do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people also like to be understood. It's a big thing. I like to be understood, and like people to be on like the same level as them, and that doesn't come from growth. You know what I mean? Recently I went to a workshop. Do you know who Abraham Hicks is?
Sounds familiar.
She does like manifestation stuff.
Okay.
She does like the law of attraction stuff. So I went to one of her workshops in LA a couple months ago.
And good for you.
Yeah, thank you. It was really fun. Yeah. I went alone because no one wanted to go with me.
Shit, ask me next time.
Okay. Anyways, I went alone, and I was like, whatever. And she like has people in the audience like go up to the stage and everything. And there was this guy. The first one actually called into the stage because she like, everyone raises their hands, they want to go up, and she like intuitively like picks someone, I guess.
Okay.
And she picked a guy, right? And the guy, he was like, I have a partner, and her daughter just like moved out. She's having a really hard time with like grieving, like her daughter just moving out. I don't know how to help her. I want to support her, but like it's not helping. And then one thing that Abraham said, she said, you cannot help someone by understanding them. So you have to be a level higher than them to help them. And you need to be firm in that.
Interesting.
And that really stuck with me. And oh my gosh, I love when she said that. It was just like so much realizations. I'm like, and that's true. And she was like, think about it. When your inspirations aren't people that are the same level as you or under. Right. They're people that you see as above you in any kind of way. You know what I mean? And if you want to help people, that's what you need people. You need to be an inspiration, which means you need to be some kind of level higher than them. And I think I've learned how do I want to like link this to what we were talking about?
I think the biggest thing you're trying to mention is like when it comes down to growth, right?
Yeah,
You can't
the
be
growth.
you can't just seek to be understood. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, I understand that, you know, like oftentimes I talk to people and they talk about their problems. They don't want the problem solved. They just want to know that they're human, that their pain is present, you know?
And that's
But-
okay sometimes.
And very
If,
okay.
if you wanna, if you're just like in the first
Very.
level of grief, you know what I mean,
For sure,
or
for
something.
sure. Whatever it is that you're coming across, sure. Because a lot of people have a hard time accepting that they're in pain.
Yeah.
So they need
Yeah.
someone to also empathize. So then until they can empathize, then they can somehow, okay, cool, it's normal. Right? And that's where
Yeah.
therapy comes in, because usually people don't have that, or maybe because they don't have a support system that says, hey, dude, Charles, what you're going through is perfectly fine. Chill the fuck out. Okay, my bad. But yeah, so how did that, like, I'm just curious now that you brought it up. How do you feel that understanding that has helped you out with yourself and your business? Because it looked like it's leading to
Yeah.
something bigger.
yeah. I remember at that time when she said that, I was like, fuck. I don't fucking cuss.
Now you can cuss.
I was
CEO of
like-
Carnival Slime, cussing.
I was like, fuck, okay.
It's so
I was like,
funny.
okay, now I don't feel so crazy. Because I think a lot of times I would feel bad that I didn't want to understand people that like were just complaining to me. A lot of my past friends were
Gotcha.
just like always like complaining and just like always just dwelling on the same problems. And I would always be like, okay, but like, let's do this. I'm always like a problem solver, right? And they'll be like, oh my God, Gleyna, but you just don't get it. You don't understand. And I always be like, I don't want to understand. But they would like, people would make me feel crazy for that. You know,
Gotcha,
like I'm like a
gotcha.
bad person. You're just like, what's that word? When you don't have like emotionless, like emotionally unavailable or whatever, or you're too cold.
Nonchalant,
or,
kinda?
Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just that like, I value growth a lot.
That's a good thing to distinguish too, because like when it comes down to building relationships, I've also, you sound a lot like me, honestly, a little while back when people are like, especially closer friends, oh, I just want to be understood. But they
Yeah.
won't say it. They don't
won't
know
say
that
it,
they don't
but
know.
they show like they say things that like you.
They use like, oh, you want a problem solved? Okay, that's usually a men do with girl with they want to be listened to, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that I've learned, and I've done this to my best friend even. I'll ask her like, hey, do you want me to listen to you and help you, like feel understood, or
Yeah.
do you want me to be truthful and blunt and
And keep it real with you.
Yeah,
like, let me
yeah.
show you the real, dirty, like
Like, are you
truth.
trying to solve this problem? Are you trying to stay there, or or do you just want to feel understood? And it's helped me out with my relationship so much. And sometimes
Yeah.
I've had this feedback many times with people that I come off too strong, and I get that.
I'm exactly like that. Yeah.
And it's
I'm working on it too. I know sometimes I can be a little, it can be, I think in the beginning, I'm going to agree. I was a
Yeah.
bit more aggressive on it.
Rigor.
So once I learned that, I'm like, you can be that, but also not push it on people.
Pause
so
it
we're
a little
not,
bit, right?
so we're not ready for that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So it's like,
Oh.
if they're not ready for it, you can't push it.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
prepare people now. I went through this whole life coach training
Oh, did
back
you?
in Orange when I was going to Long Beach for school.
yeah.
And I invested like $1,200 in total coach for like basically 120 days. I was around other people who was going through the same program, right? And we were going across our goals, and I think it's funny because I was never around that many people that held me accountable, but also kind of held me to a higher standard. And so what happened those 12 months was I had to realize, and I wasn't able to fully utilize and actualize myself until like maybe 6 months later, because then I have all these like what's it called, transition, because I got the feedback when the time was like I was very robotic and very I was regurgitating what they were telling me, and I wasn't authentic. So I was like, okay. So when I graduated college and reality hit me, all these tools started coming back, and okay, that was my
What was that? I was like, wait, what fell? I'm like, I don't see anything fall.
that was my ukulele in the back that I tried to
Wait, really?
hang up. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh my God, I'm seeing the corn with sun right
You're not supposed to see that yet.
I was like, wait. I was like, wait. And I'm like, did I give you something? Like, I was like, did I bring you something?
No, I wasn't supposed to show it to you yet,
Okay,
but
okay,
now that you've seen it, so the surprise is ruined. Thanks a lot, Gleyna. I knew you were gonna see it, but like I wanted some reaction, so we'll put that for So shout out to A+ Branding for giving that to you as a
Thank
gift.
you.
That
was a genuine surprise. I was
Good.
like, wait, what?
Maybe
So cool.
maybe that ukulele was a move after all.
I know. Yeah.
Content.
I think it
There you
really
go,
was.
guys. But anyways, going back into that, I went through this whole process of like training and understanding myself. But at the time, I didn't know how to understand it. So when I did come out 6 months later, I was a lot more accountable, and I had all these tools. But like for the first few months, some of my friends were so uncomfortable around me, just because like my lingo has changed, my sense of awareness has changed. There was a few people that understood it, but like for sure, a lot of people, I realized that the reason I was like that for a while was because I had this massive amount of like frustration with myself that I'm not where I want to be. So I kind of like put it on people, like you should be this type of standard. So that's something I realized with us, right? The reason why I want other people to change is because it's the standards that we have for ourselves, and that we wish, like, I don't want you to come across that.
Yeah,
right?
It's actually crazy you put that into words right now.
Yeah,
because I think that's how I've felt sometimes, and right now you said like it just like kind of clicked so much.
No, it makes sense too, because like the only thing that we communicate to other people is the experiences that we have about ourselves, right? I'm a big believer in that, right? For anybody out there that's like mad or angry, like if you think about it, right, they're gonna be angry at everybody else. You can't give to other people what you don't have. Now, I'm not saying what we're doing is bad. It just can be perceived differently. Whether it's the thing I did realize also is that you can't change people. You can't force people to change.
Yeah.
You can only give people the rope or the bridge to make that decision.
Yeah.
Right. So then for me, I usually give people 2-3 chances until I realize, okay, that's where they want to be, even if they don't ask for it. I kind of like hint it a little, like, hey, do you want to go here? Do you want to come here? Do you want to go? Okay, cool. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Like wherever you go,
Yeah.
But that's cool. I'm glad that you share that. You like I said, you blossomed so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Like even your outfit. I mean, it's just like phenomenal seeing the way you've evolved and transcended. If we want to be even more coachable, transformational. I look up to you, believe it or not. Like I've seen you grow. I've worked with you too. So like seeing the way you progress and how you operated and positioned yourself, inspiring. When I see people like that, I'm like, damn, I gotta keep going.
Thank you. And honestly, people ask like, how do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you like right now. I think what it really comes down to, and like what I've learned also, I remember on New Year's, I did with my therapist, we did like a values card game thing. Cause she was like, do you want to play, like, do you want to know what your values are? I'm like, my values. I was like, okay, yeah. And she had 100 cards with all like different values written on them. She's like, you have to pick only 4 from these. I was like, okay, easy. Okay. I'm like, I know myself really well. Like, yeah, easy. Okay, so first level, right? I like got it down to like 50. I was like, okay, I'd do it again. She's like, okay, get it down to like 20 now. I was like, okay, 20. That was the last 20. And I was like, okay, get it down to 40 now. And I had a really hard time letting go of some things, like picking my true...
The most important values, right?
And you know what?
That's interesting. I've never done that exercise.
Oh, yeah. It was really, really interesting. I remember a lot of like the values I was holding on to were very attached to my ego.
Can you tell me?
Yeah. A lot of them, I'm going to say.
I'm actually curious now.
A lot of them were things around like success and like wealth and money. Like I remember there was cards like wealth, success, fame, money, and this and that. And I was like,
really?
She's like, a lot of these are very similar, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, can you narrow it down? And I had like this breakthrough moment. And she was like, what if you let go of the value of money? She's like, what would you be? And I was like, she's like, what would you value then? I was like, okay, I would let go of the value of money. And there was success. And there was growth. And I was like, what do I value more, success or growth? She's like, why would you pick success over growth? And I was like, I would pick success over growth because I love the feeling of like overcoming and leading to success. I just love that feeling.
I love that.
It's just nice, you know what I mean? But too much of it is like, it's too much attached to something that's not probably healthy. And then she's like, what does it mean to value growth more over success? And for me, I was like, I feel more aligned with that on like all areas of my life. I'm like, I think I value growth more because even if I succeeded and I fell, because I value growth, I would still want to go
You'll
up.
still find a way to go back up. It's funny. I was just making a video on that, my close friend story lesson. I was like, even if everything falls in my hands, I would still find a way to go there because I value the ability to create.
Yeah.
The freedom to choose what I can
Oh,
create.
yes. And that was another
Oh.
my last 4 values that I got onto were growth, freedom, love, and spirituality.
Okay.
Those are my 4. And those have really stuck with me since. I feel like I learned so much from that. Because now everything I do, I'm like, am I doing this for this or am I doing it because I value growth? And always feels more genuine and true to myself because I value growth. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I mean, in essence, like I think growth is ego attached.
it can be.
It can be, right? Because like it can be both, right? Because
can be,
like
yeah.
because you can attach yourself to growth in the sense where you're trying to grow with other people, or maybe you're trying to help other people, or maybe because in a sense you want to feel a sense of fulfillment, right?
Yeah. I think I like that. I think for me, it's just like growth to me means never accepting like failure. I don't like. I mean, yeah, accepting failure.
But like not limiting yourself to
Yes,
that,
like
or
not
accepting,
staying there. Not
yeah.
staying there. I don't like being comfortable. Because I value growth, I'm okay with being uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to be comfortable, and you can't value growth if you are okay with being comfortable
Absolutely.
all the time.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people want to have a sense of stability, and it's just
Yeah.
it's contradicting to where they want to go.
Yeah.
So let's pivot towards some of the other values that you have. You mentioned a while here that you have now shifted towards understanding the values that you have, which you mentioned one of them was growth.
Yeah.
You also mentioned innovation,
Oh, yes.
goal-driven, and having faith. You want to dive a little deeper on one of them?
Yeah, the
Just
ones
curious,
that I wrote. Yeah. So I think innovation is one of my values. So I see
You've always been creative.
Yeah.
Right?
I
You told me a while back that the reason why you started doing slime was because you wanted to. It was a sense of not only it was a therapy. It was a solution to your better mental health.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess let's start from the beginning of why I started Corn Wet Slime, right? It actually started from like a very dark place in my life. Probably one of the darkest places I've ever been in my life, honestly. I just had like no purpose, nothing, And I remember, finding a video on Instagram of like a weird like slime thing, and it was just like really weird and like satisfying. And I was like, what is this? I'm always captivated to like weird things. And I was like, oh, I like this. This is really cool. And I started watching more and more videos, and then I ended up buying some of like the products from like some of the shops. And I found myself like happy when I was like playing with the slime, which was like rare at that time. Like nothing. It was a really dark place in my life. Nothing like it was very. I was in a place of like just deep depression and deep anxiety. I didn't like talking to anyone. I didn't like going out. I wouldn't go to school. I was missing a lot of days from school, and I had no support from anyone. I remember like this one thing. You know what I mean? Which to some people could seem so silly. To me, it was just like it brought so much joy to my life. And I think because I've always been very creative as a kid, it just like aligned perfectly, with what I liked, and adding all the colors and like scents and like add-ins and creating this thing. So then I started buying so much, and I started making myself. And then I started like an Instagram account. And I started just for fun. Like literally I was like, I don't want to start a business. I started just for fun. And I started posting all the videos. And then I kind of was like making a little community off my page of people that had like the similar interests. I remember at the time when I started the account, I was really embarrassed about it. Because I was 16, you're like, a teenager, which like everyone thinks are too cool for like everything. Everyone's like smoking weed, going to parties.
Okay.
Well, that's how all my friends were, at least. And my mom never let me go out. So I was like the one I wanted to do that, but I couldn't. So I was like playing with slime, right? And I was really embarrassed about it. I thought it was like a little kid thing.
Right.
And I didn't want to tell anyone. I remember one of my friends one time, they found my account. And I didn't have my face at the time. I had probably like 1,000 followers. So like a couple weeks in. I think they found my account because they saw it and like suggested. And he's like, hey, is this your account? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you literally posted the corner of your eye on it. And I know it's you because it had silver hair at the time. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's me. I was like, but don't tell anyone, please. And he was like, okay, I won't. But and I still continued posting and everything. But I always like just felt so much shame for it. And I remember, and then later eventually I started growing the community, right? I hit like 100,000 followers in a couple of months. And people really wanted to like me to sell the Suns and everything. And I just felt so much support from people online.
Right.
Not from real life, but I felt it online. And that was enough for me. Like it's all that kept me going. And I was like, okay, let me start selling it. And then it started doing very, very, very well. And then I remember at the time when I started selling it, I was already a senior in high school. I was 17. I was going to turn 18 in a couple months. And my mom was like, you're wasting your time. My mom was very, very not supportive of it, very hateful of it at the time. And my whole family was too. And it was very depressing because it was like I was already going through like a very depressing time in my life. And I found the only thing.
And you felt restricted.
Yeah.
Right. With what something that you found that made you happy.
Yeah. And it was like, and my family was like making fun of me for it, telling me like, you're going to waste your time on this, to go to college. I remember one thing that really stuck to me. My uncle was like, you should just go to college and get a job at Starbucks. That'll make you more money than this.
Really?
And I remember that was enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong in a couple of years.
So you get, okay.
Which was weird because I'm not really like that. But I remember, I think it was just kind of like, I had this confidence in myself that I was going to do something well. And someone not seeing that in me was like disrespectful.
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay. And I didn't tell him anything, but I'm like, my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm not going to do this to prove him wrong, but like, I know I'm going to do good that later, like, he's going to regret like his words, you know? And I remember like, I really kind of used all that kind of, I guess, like negativity. People were like showing me and telling me, and I kind of use that as like energy and fuel.
Yeah. Would you even say
great.
that even, you despite you going through this dark times, did you feel that was an escape towards like creating it, or was it more like, okay, you acknowledge that you are in the dark times, so I'm gonna use this time to kind of build. I imagine you're still learning by yourself.
I think it was actually more like an escape.
That's how I was.
If I were to put a word on it, it probably would be escape. Yeah, because I think now as I've gotten older, as I've grown on my business, I've been doing the work, inner work that I wasn't able, and I have the resources to at that time. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like in a much more better place mentally because of that. But yeah, I guess it was more of like an escape. I guess a distraction.
For sure.
I remember my mom.
You create your own world, right?
Yeah.
You were kind of, in essence, I was addicted to it once I figured this whole world out,
I created that for myself. And it's kind of how you have to, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to create something for yourself.
Yeah, no.
You have to, and I think a lot of people would be like, could think, oh, that's so fake, blah, 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 but it's like, no, I mean, it's not really fake if you acknowledge that you're going through a difficult time. And you want something better for yourself. You know what I mean?
I think that's perfectly normal. I think that's how we're supposed to, like, I think us humans, it's so cool because we have this option to grow. To we're not just like compared to like a tree or seed. We're just meant to grow into a plant or a tree, but we have the option to go however we want to be.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to go through hard times to develop the characters.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we have the free will.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me that supports me is that everything that happens in life is just exposing you to the things that you are currently susceptible to. So that's why I'm okay with let me fuck up right here. Let me fuck up my health. Okay, cool. That's what I need help on. It's actually bringing light to the things that, I've overcame perfectionist because I always thought I had to be a certain way or certain things. But now I'm like, cool, let's go through everything that we know. And if we fuck up, perfect. That's how we know we need to improve on.
I like that. And I think also, I like how you said that because I was thinking about this also of like, I want to talk about this during the podcast of like, why I'm so glad I started my business at a really young age, at 16.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because it's like it's like that mentality is easier when you're younger than when you're older. You're gonna have
Gotcha.
to learn that mentality when you're older.
Oh,
You know what I
trust
mean?
me, it's so hard
But when
to guide people towards the business owner mentality.
Oh my God. And I'm actually I struggle with that a little bit now. Because at that time when I was 16, I had nothing to fucking lose. You know what I mean? You have like all the time in the world, like you're living under your parents' roof. You're like, I can fuck up, I can mess up. And I think that's why during like, almost my whole business, I've always been like, I don't care. I can mess up, but I'm going to like learn from this. I don't care to fuck up.
It's kind of like you're a kid, right?
Yeah,
Think about that, right?
yeah.
That's the best way I think about it too. You know, a lot of people, it's what happens is that they get conditioned, right? People get conditioned socially that they have to operate and feel respected and acknowledged in a certain way by everybody else, especially their peers, before they can do something. That's why they're not okay to fucking up. That's why people are afraid of doing new things, creating more content, developing more things, you know, figuring out a way to make things different for them is because, you know, they're afraid, right?
Yeah.
They're afraid of being different.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing about me. Like, I'm fearless. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
really
are.
am.
Yes,
and
you are.
I practice it in, not just in business, but like in different areas in my life. Like, a big thing for me, I remember during like the darkest, like time in my life when I started my business, a really big thing I remember I had was like, I read this book. I think it was like by Osha. And there was a quote that was like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like you have to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just like, that's the greatest feeling of like overcoming, you know? So even like now, sometimes when I feel stuck or something, I feel like I'm just like stagnant. I'm like, I need to do something that usually fears me and like overcome it. Whether it's like doing a hike and going to like the edge of the mountain and like just feeling the fear and then like, okay, I did it and going back. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes just doing those things. It just kind of like instills something inside of you.
Yeah, or you're just addicted to adrenaline.
I know. Or it's just, I'm just crazy.
That's awesome. And then going back into it, right? We mentioned innovation was one of the things that you valued, right? I know we pivoted a little bit. Why is that now? Like reflecting back into it, like why innovation? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think that really applies, I was gonna say just in business, but actually no, even like in my personal life also. Like I think just owning up to what makes you unique and different. 'Cause I know everyone's unique and we all have unique things. For and sure. I don't like people or anything that like just likes to like just follow the train and do the same thing.
Gotcha.
I value adding like your unique human touch to something. And I think I remember at first when I started my slime company, I was really ashamed of doing it. But then later I'm like, no, like this is very unique. This is one of a kind. It's different. And I think I only really started feeling that because people were telling me like, wow, like I've never heard anyone with like a slime company that's so unique. And I'm like, that's something that
that is unique.
Actually value. I like doing things unconventionally.
It's almost like you also you value in the authenticity.
Yes.
Right? Like you acknowledge that like we all have different ways of expressing ourselves or a way of we were all born, yes, we're all humans, right? We have the same, whatever chromosomes or however we're structured differently, right? But like that's come back into it, humans are all like personally different, unique in their own way, right? If people could just unpack themselves a little bit different, they would see how amazing we really are as humans.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think one thing for me is like I've always really owned that. Like as a kid. And I think also because I had my mom who always like, she was pretty strict and all that, but she's always like, if you want to dress like this, okay, go for it. Yeah. If you want to, put up these posters in your room like this, go for it. If you want to like sell this at school, go for it, whatever. So I always just had that kind of support system. And then also I think I grew up in a generation where being online. You
grew up with the TikTok kids.
Yeah, I am. I'm Gen Z. I grew up with that. So I grew up with like Tumblr.
Yeah, you grew up with my little brother.
Yeah. I remember I loved Tumblr as a kid. I was like a teenager when I was like,
Tumblr.
I know. I think that actually still exists. No one uses it anymore. And so that was like a really big thing for me. Just kind of, I guess, people sharing their artistic kind of like preferences and like unique styles and everything on like Tumblr.
Yeah.
I kind of really grew up with that.
But I think that's awesome to bring aware, because I see a lot of Gen Z kids, right? And they do it and they don't realize it, that they might be doing it just because they want to fit in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
Yeah.
But like in actuality, I think a lot of us who are on social media creating stuff, we are on it because we value the ability to put our thoughts out. And we understand that what we have to put out there is actually much more valuable than most people think.
Yes, exactly. Putting out something unique and different. I remember one time, do you know who Rick Rubin is, right? Obviously. He put something out there. He's like, what did he said this quote once. I was like, if you want to make music that everyone likes, you're doing it wrong.
It's true.
And I was like, I like that.
I do like that.
And that can apply to anything in life.
for
You know
sure.
what I mean? If you do something because you know everyone likes it, it's like that's not like authentic. It's not genuine, you know?
You gotta shake up the room a little bit.
Yes.
You know, you gotta strike people differently. I mean, that's how all the other songs go viral and top hits,
Yes.
right? You have to be so unique, in essence, fully acknowledging your own sense of self and what you represent, that like it makes you stand out.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've been relearning this again recently, just in this past couple of months. Because I think, when I started Corn with Slime, right, everything I was doing was like very different. I remember from what was going on in like the slime community. I was like the only one making like these savory slimes, instead of like garlic and like tomato, which no one was doing. But I was like, I want to do this because no one's doing it. I'm like, no one's using colorful backgrounds. I was like, let me use a yellow background. And I remember that's what really made the account grow, just like all the different stuff I was doing. And then once the business started growing, I was really focused on like, what do people like? What do people want? Which is normal, I guess, in business.
Right.
But it's not, if you want to grow and set your brand apart, people like to have like a kind of, when they think of Corn with Slime, they should think of like one thing. If you want to be that, you can't be what everyone else is doing.
For sure.
So in these past couple of months, I'm like, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I like? How can I add my touch to this?
Right.
So it's been a journey, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're always reinventing the way you see things, and that is part of growth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, speaking of like, your brands, right? You've developed so well. 2.3 million subscribers,
Yeah.
300 plus thousand on Instagram, and over 200 in TikTok. And
It's insane. We have like over, like, I don't know, I think over 4 million like followers overall.
collectively.
platforms.
So you have multiple accounts as well that you put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
we
have seen that. I've seen some of your staff as well make some pretty fun
Yeah.
content. I remember that, and when we were more working closely together. Now I can't even keep up with you.
I know, it's insane.
It's
No, I
awesome.
know.
I
I
love it.
think I've scaled so much. Like, now I have content creators. I'm
Right.
hiring for like actors or content
Okay.
creators in the company.
Can we discuss that a little? How your infrastructure, as far as like on your online presence, has developed? I mean, I remember it was just you creating the content.
I know. That's why it's like things have like shifted so much. And I think I'm kind of like, like reinventing myself and what I want for like the brand now in like a different way. It can't be the same
Right.
as it was before. I remember before when I was like, when we were kind of just scaling so much, it was doing great. And then at some point it kind of went down. And I'm like, let me go back to do what I was doing. Like how this core started.
Right.
I'm like, that's not going to happen again. It's not. You have to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I guess, I think, so kind of the infrastructure, right, of how like our social media presence is our content creation. I think what I've learned now and what we all know and like everyone that works in the company is like social media is number one, content creation is number one, because
Love
without
that.
it, the business won't go.
Love that.
The business lives online. We need to live online.
Yes.
So that's a huge priority for me. So at the moment, we had 2 content creators, but we currently only have 1. So I'm hiring for a social media manager, and then I'm hiring for 2 more like actors / models to do kind of be personalities for our channels.
Kind of like UGC kind of creators.
Yes. But more, I don't know. So we have this really big TikTok account, which is Corn with Slime .fun. We call it our .fun channel, because that's where we do more of like the fun Corn with Slime stuff. Not so much selling products, more of like brand awareness. And we kind of just do like funny skit, humor, and like
I need to follow
informational.
this
Yeah. So it's very like directed to like Gen Z people, and it's kind of what we do, and I think that's been the reason for a lot of our growth. I think really most of our growth for YouTube, you know,
Really?
it's really because of that, the
That's
content that
awesome.
my content creators have done.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. I mean, besides that too, I mean, I a while back, you know, you did a lot of like slime content creation, you know, people, and then you got so much better at your voiceovers.
Oh
I
my
would see this and I was
gosh.
like, Gleyna, you have such a, like, you're singing this song.
Oh my gosh, thank you. No, I know. I remember at first when I started doing my voiceovers, which was like, I started doing that. Started doing like in 2021, right?
Right.
When, yeah, the peak of like TikTok happened. It was to do voiceovers. I started voiceovers. And I remember I would like yell on my phone. Like,
Really?
hi guys, today we're going to be packing an order for Amy. And she ordered Moo Milk Cream Slime for, and it was just like, I just felt like I had to be like over the top and so
right.
much. Until, you know, people are giving feedback. They're like, maybe you can lower down your voice a little bit. We can't hear you. You're kind of like mumbling your word. You're kind of talking a little too fast. And I remember at first, like, those comments really hurt. But I was like, no. Take it with a grain of salt. This is feedback. Let's apply this. Let's be
Love
grateful people are being honest.
Right,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? And even like commenting like how they actually feel. So I started implementing that. I remember a big thing for like people were like, you're not really pronunciating your words. Because I was just like talking so fast. So now a big thing and what I do in my voiceovers is making sure I'm pronunciating my words
You
right.
are doing that right now.
I know.
was just gonna make that note. You know,
I
you
know.
are actually pivoting to it because you're coming back into it. I'm not saying that I couldn't understand you, but you
Yeah.
were, you know, you did talk pretty fast.
I do. And I still do sometimes actually when I'm like having team meetings
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, Gleyna, what did you say? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking really fast right now. It's like natural for me to talk fast.
I've trained myself to do the same thing because sometimes I would mumble my words because my
Yes.
thoughts are going faster than my articulation.
I get you.
And I'm like, look, now I've kind of trained that ability. And it's also helps
Yeah.
out with my podcasting, you know, because you know, I have all these ideas and also working with clients and like I have to slow down a little bit.
I've
know?
had to learn that in the past year, slowing down more because also it gives me more room to think. And I hate
got it.
also another big thing. I hate using. I still use it by words like or
Fillers.
fillers. Yes. So when you talk slower, you can take your time to not use
You
those
just
fillers in
stole my
between.
thunder. That's exactly what I tell all the people who's having a hard time or who tend to do a lot of fillers, like and I tell them
It's normal.
Take a breather.
It's normal. Yeah. I think it's normal because I mean sometimes when you're nervous, I think when you're talking to a person or like a team, you don't want to waste people's time.
Right.
We feel like we're wasting people's time.
For sure.
So you want to use like filler words. I just did it right now. And you know, it's normal. So I think, but yeah, talking slower and just pronouncing your words right, I think means more to me than like delivering fast.
For sure. Now, when it comes down to your voiceovers, are you doing like copy? Like, are you writing it down first?
Oh yeah, I have
Or
like
how do you
whole-
think about like the structure of that? Because I noticed it, you know?
Yeah, so I actually usually I do my voiceovers on one phone and I have my other phone where I like write on my notes what I want to say.
Nice.
And then I don't say it all in one go. I used to, that's also another thing I used to do when I started doing voiceovers in 2021. I thought that I had to do my whole 1 minute voiceover at once. And that's how I would talk so fast.
Really?
Because I wasn't breathing in between.
Some people do really good at that, though. Not gonna lie.
I know, but like, oh no, because I don't know. I just couldn't do it because sometimes I need to like stop and then start a word, another sentence like this, and then you know what I mean? Like different segments of your voiceover need to have different emotions to them. So that's why I like doing little segments for my voiceover, so I can deliver how I feel with them. Kind of when you're like
different.
writing music.
Yeah, no,
you
for
know?
sure. You have to be able to pace yourself in a sense where you can actually or amplify the energy on that or pronunciation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So okay. So going into it, right? You've grown your brand phenomenally. Like accelerate so
Oh my
fast.
gosh,
right?
thank you so much.
How like what would you say that are things that are that have contributed to that growth?
You know, last year I was really trying to figure this out too myself because the best year overall that I've had in business was 2022. That was my best year, like sales wise and
It was
everything.
like 2 years
profit.
after COVID, right?
Yes,
so everyone
yes.
was more.
It was an amazing year, right? And then 2023 was still an amazing year, good, but not as great as 2022. We didn't
Gotcha.
meet our same goal, and that was heartbreaking for me. because I have been used to like going like this.
Yeah.
And then for the first time, I was like,
But you also mentioned this because you were learning how to become a better leader.
I was
people.
learning a lot. And I remember, talking to my mentor, my therapist, being like, I'm just really disappointed in myself. Like, I feel like I got too comfortable this year. And I feel like I took my foot off the gas pedal. And they're like, well, you did. But then also you finally relaxed after like 5 years,
Nice.
for the first time, which I think I did need that. I bought my house last year. I was traveling a little bit more. I was traveling more like solo and, meeting new people and networking. And I think I needed that. It was good for me. But what was the question you asked again?
The question I think that I asked.
What has
what
has like been the reason for so much growth in my business, kind of?
Yes, going back into wow, I even got lost in my own question. Wow, I was so mesmerized, but okay. We'll just cut that part out.
It just really, for me, I think we've done, why the business has grown so much and it's been, profitable. I think number one, it's like a really profitable product that we sell. So I think that's first when you want to. Also, I have a lot of friends that are business owners, and a lot of my friends, all of them, no one sells products. Everyone just sells services. And so we talk about this, and it's like, it's so different, selling service and a product. But I think in like the space of like selling a product, number one, finding a product that's profitable. And then two, also a big reason for like the business being profitable is buying big.
In bulk.
Buying in bulk. Yeah, buying in bulk has been also a big reason for it. And hiring the right people.
The right team.
Has been one of the biggest
would you say a lot of your growth on social media or revenue right now, right? Because obviously you can have a really good profitable and buy amount, but like if you don't get it to the right people, they're not going to purchase. You talked about the past few 20, 30 minutes about how you value innovation and creativity. I think that a lot of, and I'm just making this because, predicament out of all this situation is that you focus so much on like creating this brand awareness, right? That you really distinguished yourself. You put out the things that made you unique. You've consistently, hammered it, and because you valued it, you even said yourself, social media is your number one thing, right? That has allowed you guys
100%.
to accelerate at such a pace.
Yeah, and that's why, I think that's honestly, if I could just make that answer short, I would say social media has been the reason why the business has grown so much. Without social media, this business would be nowhere, nothing.
Right.
It would be nothing. I mean, we could probably, be doing like retail and all that, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to do that.
Right.
I think I've done it so good because I'm good at social media and I know how to do social media and I love social media. I love the internet. And I think that's why now I have friends that are business owners, whether they sell products or services, like, how can I grow so much? Like, what advice do you give? I'm like, get on freaking social media and post. Oh, but it's like, I don't want to post. Like, my videos are not good. I don't want to talk. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Just freaking do it. Just start.
Yep.
Just start. And I know you get this because you talk about this. We talk about this when we talk. And it's like, you just have to freaking start. When I started my first slime videos, they were ugly and not cute. But I didn't care. I was like, I'm just going to do it because I love it. And then once you start, you just start learning normally and gradually.
Yes, I would also like to, point that out because a lot of people want to overanalyze things, but like you can't even have data if you don't even start. It's like, bro, like,
And I think also for me, when I started, like I said, I was really young. I was like fearless. I was like, I didn't really care what anyone was saying that much. Even like my family and my uncle told me, you should do this. I'm like, yeah, I hurt, but I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be doing it. It was like that sense of just like confidence, I guess, that I had as a kid. And I think it's also harder for like, 30-year-olds, 40 people, like, because they think so much of it. And they're like, oh, I did this and it might go wrong because that time I did this when I was like 20, it went wrong. People were like judging me. And there's just so much these stories behind it.
So
Get rid of the stories.
Would you think that a lot of people who fear putting more things out on social media, they should probably create more sense of self-awareness within themselves of why they
Yes.
fear trying to be perfect and all this stuff?
Yes.
But also, because that's usually what people say. People say, "Oh yeah, just post," but then there's like a thought process that's missing. That's a disconnect. That's a disconnect within people that prevents them from just like doing it.
I think the self-awareness is huge.
Yeah.
I think also recently for me, I've been like on Core Wet Slime, right? I've always been so used to just posting videos of the slime. But now I'm like, I need to be in the videos. Like people need to know who I am.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I just noticed you started your personal brand.
I know.
Is that part of that thing too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I really want I want to start my personal brand and
That's so crazy because I remember a while back you did not want to.
No, remember? Yeah.
I do remember.
I've always been like very no because I had all these stories of things, right? What people are gonna say, like, oh my god, if it's not too good, if I'm not like whatever, I'm like, just freaking do it, Gleyna. If you wanted to do it.
Well, now that links back into what you said a while back, right? You said a while back when I met you, you didn't like people telling them that you have a business, and now you want to build that brand and let people know that you do own a business.
Yes.
Like, how has that
Yes.
shifted for you as a pride, right?
I think honestly, if I'm gonna be honest about things, I think it's just knowing that what I've done has brought me good things.
Love that.
I don't know if that sounds like, it kind of sounds egotistical or something.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this, right?
But it's just like the truth.
Is that coming from like, hey, I want other people, like I'm inspired, I'm so grateful that I have this thing. I think other people can can benefit from it too.
Yes, exactly that. And I think just like as of recently also, because I've gained so much experience in all this in business and stuff, I've met many more amazing people recently, and they tell me like, Gleyna, I'm inspired by you. And I'm like, what? It's like, it makes me just really happy. Like, you should do this, you should do that. And it's just really nice to know people think of me like that and see me like that. And it's like, okay, sometimes you do need people to tell you you're doing a great job and you inspire me. That's enough sometimes for you to want to just start your own personal brand, I guess.
Honestly, I'm so stoked to see how your personal brand will grow. I think with what you know with social media, you are going to be like, I won't even know you in a few months from now. But also, like, there's so much benefits that you can do building your personal brand.
Yeah.
Because like now, like, okay, cool. Now you have the accolades, right? You have the results and the portfolio, from all the way back. People attach your brand with your personal brand or your brand with your business, right? Then they start associating the two and two. And now you have way more face value. The only thing that I know that from everybody else that I've talked to, the only downside is your privacy gets a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people want to be a little bit more private. I do know people who prefer it that way, but they've also acknowledged that because they don't have a personal brand, it prevents them from reaching the aspect of success that they could do with the brand.
Exactly. And I think a big reason why in the past I never wanted to start my own personal brand and put my face out there is because the privacy factor, right? I'm like, I don't want people to like know me and do this. But I think at the time also when I didn't want that, also I was young and I had a lot of friends that, how can I say it? I just had friends that were always like very like, just like insecure. You know what I mean? It's kind of like rubbing off on me also. And
did you want to fit in that
yes,
sense,
kind of like fit in. And also
that was interesting.
Until I think last year, I was like partying a lot. You know what I mean? Going out every weekend. And like, I didn't want my business to be associated with that. I was like, I want to do that like very separate. But I feel like I'm already kind of like over, like just like past that.
Yeah, you get over it very quickly.
Yeah, I got over it really quickly. I'm like, okay, now I'm like, I don't have anything to like be embarrassed about or anything.
Yeah, because I remember, because you mentioned earlier how you're embarrassed to, what's it called? Be known that you have a business because everybody else had a McDonald's job or something or going to school and college, right?
Going to school and college,
there is a feeling of shame in that. I think that's also the reason why I continued to do college instead of going for business my first year out of high school. It's because of that or parents' approval. Usually that was for me, right? But now it's like you've accepted it. in essence, that this is your life and you're
I've accepted
proud of
it fully. Yeah, and I
you're
think
proud of
because
it.
I have people around me.
That grace coming back, right?
Yeah. I have people around me that like
That helps out too.
are proud of me and I'm proud of them, and it's just like this like just mutual support with
Yeah.
all the people around me. And I think the past the friends that I have were not supportive of
Mm-hmm.
it, and I just had to kind of let go of them, and then I made room for new people, and now I have really good people around me.
Associations play a big role too because it creates that context for your life.
Yes.
To really, okay, well, this life should be normal. Like, why am I not normalizing this? Oh, it's because all my other friends think that this should be a normal. Like, I'm weird.
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm weird, perfect. Let me find more weird people.
Yes, exactly. That's something that I just learned just recently. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you. Gleyna.
Thank you.
I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know where this is gonna go, like the personal brand thing, but I'm like, I don't know if at least I'm starting. I'm just doing
Yeah.
things. Like the other day, I posted a video. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you commented on it.
Yeah, it was like, wow.
I was like, I mean, I really just love adding like my own.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have just so much to me personally. Like I love like vintage stuff.
You
and
do have that aesthetic.
Yeah,
I mentioned.
And I'm like, I wanna show that, you know, in some way. So I was like, let me just make a video of doing this, and I just did it for fun. I'm like, okay, I want to do more like this.
Very Instagram-y.
Yeah.
Okay, so then pivoting back into that. Now you mentioned something in the description, and you mentioned how dating life has been a little bit difficult.
Oh yeah, I did put
Because
that.
I did relate both on the leadership side and as well as in the dating side, because loneliness tends to be associated with entrepreneurship, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Like, why can't we just all be connected somehow, right?
I know, right? Or fortunately, because imagine if everyone.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I kind of I think it honestly just caught up to me a couple like until like summer. I was like, I'm actually a little lonely because I think ever since I started my business, I've always been like, I love being like a boss girl CEO, like go, and then I'm like, I got to a point I'm like, I met so many of my goals. I'm like, okay, now what? And it just
Like, who do I share this with? Right?
Yeah, so then I just kind of I was kind of self-reflecting. I'm like, what do I really want now? And I'm like, I think I'm ready now. Like I think I'm, and just I literally told myself, I was like, I think I'm ready for like love now. Not like didn't mean anything, but I just like I allowed myself to just accept it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I think for so long I've always been like, I want to be single. Like I don't want anyone. But like, oh, you have a boyfriend? I'm like, no. Like don't even talk to me about that. Like
That's a
focus
good
on my business.
position in you.
I know. And for the first time I was like, I'm actually like ready for love.
I gotta ask for that because I'm not closed off to quote unquote love. However, it's not my priority. Like it's like if it comes in my way, I'll most likely just kind of not dismiss it, but acknowledge it and bypass it. What would you say it's because that you feel you've reached a sense of level in your life where now you've kind of like are more receptive to it?
Yes. And I think also because I've just done so much inner work also, like I know exactly what I want. I think for a long time I didn't want love like at all or a partner or anything.
Right.
Because I didn't know what I wanted. And I think in the past I've gotten hurt and I just didn't want that. I think that's normal for anyone. You get hurt and you're like, I don't want this anymore. It's so normal. But I think for me, I got like a sense of like, time where like I did get hurt and then I, close off. I did the work and then I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready now. I think I know what I want. And now I'm like, I know exactly what I want.
That's good. That's good.
But I'm also like, I'm not rushing into it. It's not a priority for me.
Yes.
It's not like number one or anything. It's like, it's on the top list, but like kind of low on there. But I made the top list, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's enough already. But it's hard.
Yeah. Why would you say it is hard though? Just out of curiosity. I mean, share your experience.
Here's the thing also, I have other like single friends that are like, oh, like dating world is so, and blah, blah. I wouldn't say that. I believe there's a lot of like good people out there and there's a lot of like good men and women. There's everything out there. I think it's just hard because as a like young, successful person, I remember one time my mentor told me, he's like, biggest disadvantage you have, Gleyna, is like you're young and successful. And I'm like, what does that mean? That's so mean. He's like, people are gonna be envious of you, are gonna like want what you have, and it's just gonna happen inevitably. And I've learned that a lot this past year. And so kind of knowing that and going into like dating life, it's like, it's a little scary. You know what I mean? you know people's intentions are.
Yeah, it's true.
So I remember at first when I was like, got into like dating apps and stuff, right? My friends were like, don't put that you're a business owner. Say that you just work at an office job. And I'm like, that's so smart. Like, yeah, like let me just do that. And I remember I put that. I was like, I work at like an insurance job.
I can't see you working an insurance job.
I know. And I remember I did that, right? And it just felt so fake. I hated it.
Yeah.
I remember telling my friends, my business is a big identity for me. It's a huge part of my identity. And I take a lot of pride in what I do. And I want someone to like love that about me. I don't want to lie about it at first.
Honestly, I think like if you can be transparent about what you do and share that in any, like it's the most attractive thing. I think for someone to acknowledge that like, hey, what I do is me, whether you love me or not, like that, I think that allows you to attract the right people.
Yeah.
Because now you're being authentic with yourself.
Yes, exactly. And that's
Right?
what I want. I want an authentic, like mature relationship. I don't want to play any games.
Yeah.
I think a lot of friends were telling me that because they thought I just wanted to like just have fun and like experiment. And I think a lot of people want me to do that because I'm young.
And successful.
yeah.
So you,
They're like, Gleyna, just have fun. You don't know what you want yet. But I'm like, no, I know I'm like really young, but like I know exactly what I want. And I'm okay if I have to wait until like I'm 30, cool. I don't care. But like I know what I want and I don't want to like play around and like experiment or whatever just for the heck of it. Like no. You know what I think I'm pretty mature enough already.
I love that I can tell that you've worked a lot on your inner work to be able to be solidified on your sense of values. That's usually where it starts too.
Yeah. But I guess it's hard also because I have a lot of standards.
I was told recently that I should lower my standards for the time being,
No way.
I was like, maybe I should.
Yeah, like
That's so funny.
I think one time someone told me that too.
It's
Like
kind of degrading, Jesus.
it
Whoever told me
is.
Just kidding.
I remember my friend once. She's like, you should make a list of all the things you want in a man. What do you want in your future husband? And I was like, I love that. So I made my list. And then I told her about it. She's like, oh my God, that's so much. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, but that's what you want right now. And I'm like, so that's what I want right now. She's like, it might change. And I'm like, that's true. And she's like, you just have to put a foot forward and step in there to also learn more about yourself. So also the more I talk to like people or friends that have partners or I talk to like, single people, I learn more or less of what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like there were some things on my list and there was like one thing on my list. What was it? I had one thing on my list and I met someone and I was like, oh, never mind. I removed it off my list. Like, I don't want this anymore. Actually.
That's so funny.
But I'm pretty set on what I want. I think, yeah, someone that's kind of like me, you know? Which
That's funny. That's what my little brother tells me all the time. Charles, you're going to find someone who's just exactly just like you. And then he described me exactly how I am. Like, how do you know? Like, bro, I lived with you for like the last 18 years. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right.
I love it. This is so sweet. Like people know you so well, and like you're like, you should just be my matchmaker. Yeah. But yeah, I know exactly what I want. It's just like kind of just waiting.
Like they're already there. You're just
Yes,
waiting
yes.
the process,
like
right?
I can like envision
I
him
love
already.
that.
Like I can envision him already. It's just
She's into manifestation.
yeah. He's in
Love
my
it.
paper under my pillow. No, but yeah, and I guess I think also another thing, I think when like I first accepted like I do want love, I think before that, right, I was really lonely, but like denying it. You know what I mean? Like denying that I didn't want love and I didn't care about love. And I remember actually when I was doing the values kind of like exercise with my therapist, one of the values was love.
Yeah.
And I remember I started crying when I chose that. It's just like, why does that make you feel that way? I'm like, because I do value love a lot. I do, whether it's like friends or family and all that, but it's something I really hold dear to my heart. I think for a long time, I was like, I don't care about this. I tried to like put it in the back end, but it's actually something that does matter a lot to me. And I'm like now owning it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that, Gleyna. I don't want to take too much of your time. We've also I'm having such a great time. But for all our listeners, like what's next for you? I mean, just out of curiosity.
What's next
Besides
for me?
finding the love.
I know, finding the love, right? No, I think honestly, I think I just want to continue just testing stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And trying new things.
Love that.
I think I want my whole life to be like that. Just like always just like trying new things and never just like doing the same thing.
You like that novelty feeling?
Yes. I do.
I do not. I try to stay. It's funny because my what's the word I'm looking for? What I revert to often is structure. I'm really good at systemizing things, creating operations, organizing things in a way that makes sense, and communicating in a way where it's consistent. But I need something that's also very spontaneous, combustive, like, disruptive all the time.
Yes.
Things that that's like, whoa, what's going on here,
So I think I want to continue doing that.
That's awesome.
But only a little bit and sticking to them. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know exactly what's next for me. And I think also that's a pro of being young. That I don't have to have it all figured out. But luckily, I think I've done, so much that I can kind of like sit back and chill.
Slow down a little bit.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think this year especially, I think last year I kind of took the back seat on like things. This time I'm kind of like finally like in the driver's seat. I'm like, okay, let's get things going again. So I really just want to just grow my business to like the most it can. Like I really want to focus on our content creation and develop just a lot more just high quality kind of videos. That's really my goal right now. That's why I want to hire a social media manager to kind of be like the back end of our videos, and kind of strategist for all our platforms. And then I want to hire more personalities. So that's actually my main focus right now. It's been for like the past month, but it's not easy hiring. So
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I think, hiring the right people. I think that's also what's
Building the right team. You did mention that, right? Right now you understand that the core value of your companies or any companies is the team that you build.
So I think it's one of the big things that's next for me. Hiring people around me that believe in the same things as me. That's what's next for me. Okay. I think that's big. I think I've worked a lot on that, and I think I'm at a point where I'm like, this is exactly what I want now.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I wish we could go longer, but time proceeds. But for anybody listening that wants to connect with your brand and your new personal brand, where can they find you?
Yes. So I am Gleyna Oleynick on Instagram, Cornwood Slime on Instagram, and then if you go to cornwoodslime.com, that's our website. We sell all our products, and then we're also cornwoodslime.com on YouTube, where we make our content, and you can find all the promos of our products.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Gleyna.
you, Charles. I had a great time.
I had a pleasure having you in there. It was an honor.
Thanks.
And for anybody tuning in, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be doing more episodes like this where we bring on professionals, experts, leaders to voice what they stand for. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow or subscribe so that you can tune in to the next and latest episodes.